In the early 1900s, Walt Disney pioneered new technologies in animation, allowing him to create influential films, cross frontiers in the entertainment industry, and shape American culture. In the early 20th century, animation appeared as a new art form, using simple technologies and techniques that were revolutionary at the time. The first fully animated film was called Phantasmagoria, created in 1908 by Emile Cole, the father of the animated cartoon. Other early animators included George Méliès, the first cinemagician, J. Stuart Blackton, who used stop-motion animation, and Edward J. Muybridge, who used a phenakistoscope, an early animation device using the persistence of vision theory. These early animation techniques formed the foundation on which Walt Disney built his new vision. Walt Disney had a tough childhood with an abusive father but found an escape in drawing. When he was 16, he faked his age and joined the Red Cross Ambulance Corps during World War I. After the war, he went to Kansas and worked for a film ad company. He fell in love with animation but wanted to do more with the medium, so he began producing shorts, which he called Laugh-O-Gram. Soon after, Disney moved to LA to work with his brother Roy and started the Disney Brothers Cartoon Studio. Along with his friend Ub Iwerks, they developed a new character who at first was named Mortimer, but eventually became the famous Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse appeared in a few films that were modestly successful, but Disney's first giant leap in animation occurred with Steamboat Willie, the first animated film with synchronized sound.
We had the orchestra going, and everybody had to synchronize. Hit that thing right on the button, and we had a way of doing it.
Later, he incorporated Technicolor into short films he called Silly Symphonies. These allowed Disney to test different animation techniques and to develop more technologies. This success gave Disney an idea. By nature, I'm an experimenter, so with the success of Mickey, I was determined to diversify. I had another idea that was plaguing my brain. Disney wanted to create the first full-length animated movie with color and sound. To public criticism, Walt responded, "You should have heard the howls of warning. It was prophesied that nobody would sit through a cartoon an hour and a half long. But we decided there was only one way we could successfully do it, and that was to go for broke. Shoot the works."
The picture that every newspaper and magazine critic is raving about. Hear what the usually hard-boiled review of Time magazine says. Snow White is as exciting as a Western, as funny as a haywire comedy. It combines the classic idiom of folklore drama with rollicking comic strip humor. It is an authentic masterpiece. More than 250,000 paintings like these were created by Walt Disney and his staff of artists to make the most daring adventure in the history of motion pictures.
And so, in 1937, Walt Disney created Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He used his new technology, powerful storytelling, and beautiful music and art to catch the imagination of the audience. Disney further advanced animation by evolving its technology. He invented the storyboard to brainstorm the plot of a film and developed the multiplane camera, arguably one of the most important technologies his studio created. This Academy Award-winning invention enabled filmmakers to show depth in their films.
With our original picture broken down in this manner, it is possible to control the relative speed with which each individual part of it moves to or away from the camera.
More feature-length films appeared such as Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. Disappointingly, extremely detailed films like Sleeping Beauty were time-consuming and expensive to make, and the studio considered shutting down. Amidst the financial struggle, Disney pioneered yet another animation technology called xerography. In 101 Dalmatians, this allowed them to photocopy the 99 individual puppies and made the drawing process faster. They no longer had to ink each individual illustration and frame. Although this resulted in a messier feel, xerography revolutionized the animation process, a cheaper and faster way to produce films. These innovations transformed the art of animation, requiring Walt to set up a very systematic training course for our young animators and a plan for approach for our older animators.
Art schools that existed then didn't quite have enough for what we needed, so we set up our own art school.
Well, you were inventing a new art anyway.
Well, yes, but we were just going a little bit beyond what they were getting in the art school, where they worked with the static figure. Now, we were dealing in motion.
In addition to his technology, Disney's artistry and self-promotion in media allowed Disney to overcome other competitors in the industry. Founded in 1929, Fleischer Studios' initial techniques included both animated and live-action components, as seen in Popeye and Betty Boop. They also innovated technology, developing the setback camera similar to the multiplane camera and the rotoscope, which allowed for smoother and more natural animation. However, their film style was less artistic and more rugged, with messier storytelling, lighting, and camera work. Another of Disney's advantages was his advertising of behind-the-scenes work and modern technology used in his movies. The public was awed by his making-of films, which publicized the importance of his innovations. Although some may argue that Fleischer led early animation development, Disney clearly had the greatest influence on animation as it is today. Despite these strengths, however, Disney and his films were not without fault and faced challenges and controversy. On May 28, 1941, Disney's animators went on strike. Anger had been simmering within the labor union about long working hours and low pay. After countless hours and sacrifices to finish Snow White, the film's large profit was withheld from the artists and instead was invested in better studios for the top animators. This enraged the lower animators. Initially, Walt Disney was hurt and angered by the strike. Neither the picketers nor Disney were going to compromise. But on July 2nd, Disney conceded, apologizing and proposing 7 terms, including increased wages. In the short term, the striking employees accepted the offer, resolving what Tom Cito, a former Disney animator and president of the Animation Guild, called the Civil War of Animation. And in the long term, the strike paved the way for Hollywood animators to earn pensions, medical insurance, and the highest standard of living in the animation world. The Disney Studios labor strikes changed the labor experience and pioneered income equality and financial security for its workers. Reflecting what was then viewed as America's ideal person, Disney's films formed the American way. They were set in a glamorous rural land starring little guy or common man heroes with strong work ethics and bravery who prevailed against their foes. These sentiments were appreciated during the Depression and shaped a new American culture through core themes and values. However, Disney's older films perpetuated racist and sexist stereotypes that were criticized by evolving perspectives in the broader culture. In Dumbo, the Crows disrespectfully imitate black workers on southern plantations and allude to the segregation and Jim Crow laws during the 19th and 20th centuries, as the leading Crow's name was Jim Crow. Similarly, films such as A Song of the South, Peter Pan, Aristocats, and The Princess and the Frog inaccurately portray the time period's racism and cultural issues, objected to by organizations such as the NAACP. Earlier Disney princess films depict women as dependent on men and spread messages about women's role in society, such as Ariel changing who she is for Prince Eric, Belle staying with the abusive Beast, and Snow White's non-consensual kiss. As a result, Disney Studios began and continues to cross frontiers in film by representing stories that empower women and people of diverse backgrounds, creating a long-term and wide-reaching impact on society. As Disney's animation shaped American culture, it also pushed the limits of what animation could be used for. During World War II, Disney created propaganda animations that supported the U.S. cause. Characters appeared on posters, insignia, and war bonds, promoting service and support in the war. Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck became a face for the country next to Uncle Sam appearing in short films. Donald Gets Drafted emphasizes the honor it is to fight for the United States in the war. Spirit of 43 promotes paying taxes in support of the war effort.
It's your dough, but it's your war too. You must save for victory.
Disney was convinced by Savrinsky's book, Victory Through Air Power, which argued that victory in the war would be secured through control of the air, so he bought the rights to create the film. However, there were many controversial opinions about this war strategy, especially in military leadership. So Walt partnered with the United States Army Air Forces and the Navy when creating this film. Although some people argue that the film was released too late in the war to make an impact, it sold 2.5 million tickets and uplifted the morale of the country. Disney even claimed that Roosevelt's strategic bombing was partly based on the ideas presented in the film. Walt Disney pioneered animation technology, adding sound and Technicolor to moving pictures, depth with a multiplane camera, and efficiency in animating with xerography. Advertising these developments in his creative process, Disney outperformed his competitors in animation. He crossed frontiers in the entertainment industry and reimagined what animation could be used for, as his characters led the nation through World War II with some of the first animated war propaganda, although some of his work here was controversial. Disney responded to labor disputes, creating a new standard for working conditions in the industry and enabling them to survive as a leading pioneer in animation. As a global icon, Disney writes stories that shape American culture with heroes who inspire the world, that broaden along with evolving cultural perspectives on gender, race, and diverse representation, influencing culture to this day. Disney's groundbreaking work in pioneering new animation techniques allowed him to set a new precedent for telling America's story.